Hey, happy Tuesday. Tonight, I am going to be jumping in and providing a how to play as well as my review of Sanctum from Czech Games Edition. So is this a fantasy co-op? Well, it's not really co-op, but is this a fantasy game that you're going to want to jump on into and grab? Or should you take a pass on battling the Demon Lord? Well, you're going to find out in just a few moments. So come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Excuse me as I'm looking around trying to get everything set up. Hopefully everything is working correctly tonight. Fingers crossed, right? You never know what's going to happen because it's live. Anyway, tonight is Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. This is episode 447 of The Daily Dope. Do want to point out, this is a live show. If this is your first time you've popped in to check this out, even if you're watching after the fact, do want to mention that this does happen to be very, very casual. Just kind of talking tabletop games. Tonight, I am going to be sharing a how to play as well as reviewing Sanctum, which is from Czech Games Edition, or CGE, as some people like to refer to them. Because this is a live stream, chat is available. So if you are watching live on YouTube, chime in. We'll point out, chat is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to chat. So, well, as best I can. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question or a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. Of course, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you do, don't forget, ring that little bell, because it will not only notify you of when the Daily Dope goes live, it'll also tell you when I upload standalone videos as well. So this weekend, I will be covering C2E2 in Chicago. Might have some interviews. Don't know. That's kind of a fly by the seat of my pants sort of convention. So who knows? Might have some coverage. Might not. So we will find out. Also, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com and tell a friend, tell a couple of friends. We had a nice boost of subscribers recently. I think we've had 50 new subscribers about the last 2 weeks because we were celebrating 2,100 subscribers doing a giveaway. It was just, gosh, what was the giveaway date? Was the 14th, wasn't it? Valentine's Day. I did the giveaway. So, yeah, it was about 2.5 weeks ago, we cracked 2,100. Now we're at 2,150. Not too shabby. Hey, at least as far as things go for the Gaming Gang channel. I mean, it took years to get 1,000 subscribers. So here we have it. Anyway, as I mentioned, tonight I am going to be sharing a how to play as well as reviewing Sanctum from Czech Edition games. I'm going to jump right into that in just a few moments. Do want to talk about what's happening for the rest of this week and into next as far as episodes of the Daily Dope. Tomorrow's show, Wargame Wednesday, I am going to share a how to play and review Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea from GMT Games. This is not as complex as people think it looks. It is actually a fairly moderate complexity game. And interestingly enough, you do not have to actually go to war with your civilization to win this game, which I thought was a nice twist. So we will be taking a look at this. If you like Civ games, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Then on Thursday's show, The fine folks over at Paizo Inc. were kind enough to send me some Pathfinder and Starfinder items. So last night I just reviewed The Show Must Go On, the first chapter of the Extinction Curse adventure path, which I liked. I gave it an 8 out of 10. On Thursday's show, we are going to take a first look at Gods and Magic for 2nd edition Pathfinder. This is a hardcover that just came out. It's not going to be a review. It will be a page through. We're going to take a peek through this. I am going to do my best to try to get some of this read, so I have a clue about this at least, as opposed to being absolutely clueless. If I read enough of it, if I finish it all up, maybe Thursday will be a review. But I doubt it. Then, Friday, as I mentioned, I am covering C2E2. It is the Chicago Entertainment and Pop Culture Expo. I don't know where the P went. So, would that be C2P, C2, or E2, or whatever? Anyway, Monday show, I will be sharing my how to play and review of Egizia, Shifting Sands, from my pals over at Stronghold Games. I did mention when I did my unboxing and first look at this that Egizia was one of the first Euro games I ever played. So that just goes to show you how I haven't played Euro games for that long. I guess maybe it's 10 years then. Well, 9 or 10 years since I started playing Euros. Anyway, so that'll be on Monday's show. All right, without further ado, I am going to jump into chat here. First thing I'm going to do before I jump into the review is just want to make sure that we are okay as far as our chat. Because every once in a while, we do get an oddball deal with chat. It doesn't sync up. So my chat doesn't show people talking, and the actual chat does show people talking. So I don't see anything that looks wrong. So we should be good. Cool deal. All right, let's jump on in to the review, the how to play as well as the review. As I mentioned, we are taking a look at Sanctum, which is from Czech Games Edition. It is designed by Filip Neduk, with artwork and graphic design provided by, I apologize, I'm going to mispronounce these, I know it, Jacob Politzer and Franisek Sedlacek. Maybe I'm close. I'm hoping I'm close. The game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, plays in 1 to 2 hours. It is available now. Does carry an MSRP of $59.99. So the premise of Sanctum is that we are looking at battling the Demon Lord. So as I mentioned, it's up from 2 to 4 players. We are going to take on the Demon Lord. We have to traverse the countryside as we make our way to the lair of the Demon Lord. And we are going to fight monsters and demons, lesser demons along the way. I will zoom in. We will get a closer look at some of the aspects of the game. I am going to point out that I am not going to go into every single tiny little detail about the game because I don't want this to be an hour and a half long video. But I will cover pretty much the basics and how this game does play. So first off, kind of taking a tour around, I've kind of squeezed some things in here because you would normally have this a little more spread out on your table. But we do have the kind of game world that we are going to move our characters along. There are actually 6 locations if you're playing in a 4-player game that you are going to traverse. So there are some changes as far as if you've got 2 players or 3 or more players, you will see some changes. Sometimes, an example here, if you notice, this shows 2 players with a slash. So if you were playing a 2-player game, you actually wouldn't be using this. But these are dual-sided. So we do see down here in the lower corner, it is showing what number board this is. So we go 1 through 6. This is right before we get to the Demon Lord. As we end up, we have to fight various different, like, major demons, but they aren't the Demon Lord. So we also have, this is where we pull our monster cards right here. What I'm going to do is I am actually, yeah, I'm going to disappear. There we go. All right, so I like hanging out in the corner there, but not when I've kind of hiding stuff. So what this section is here, this is where we get our monsters. So we have like level 1, level 2, level 3. And the location board here actually is providing us with the information of what we're going to pull, how many monsters we're going to take, what kind of monsters we're going to end up drawing once we hit a certain location circle. You have miniatures that represent each of the heroes. There are 4 heroes. We'll zoom in, get a better look at these in just a moment. Just kind of taking a tour here. This is kind of a divine inspiration board slash achievement board where you can get these tokens, which will give you bonuses that you do want to kind of hang on to for the final battle with the Demon Lord. Then we have the character board here, which is a real nice cardstock. This should hold up to a lot of play. Very nicely done. We get some artwork on the back as well. We will actually kind of zoom in, get a closer look at just the blank character board. But as I mentioned, there are 4 different characters that you can choose from. Each one of these is going to play, I don't want to say drastically differently, but they will play differently. So this is the dancer, who is kind of a magic user. The character I do have set up here is our archer. And we also have a warrior as well as a rogue that's in play as well. So this is our character board here. We have stamina tokens. We also have finesse tokens. I should say focus tokens. Finesse. I'm so used to playing Divinity Original Sin 2 with my archer and having to pump points into finesse. So I see Guillermo Robles and Kabuki Kid are here watching live. Good to see you both. Welcome aboard. We are taking a look at Sanctum. I'm going to share my how to play, and then I am going to provide my review. So what'll happen here is as we defeat monsters, we get gear. And these are locations where you're going to put that different equipment that's available to you. Up here, where I have the miniature representing the archer, this is where we're going to actually put the monster cards. The monsters are actually, we don't necessarily have to constantly fight the monsters, but as we move along, we will have more monsters kind of chasing us. So we want to fight the monsters at some point in time, mainly because that's how you level up. That's how you get equipment. Not fighting the monsters means that you're not getting anything. You're just moving closer to the final battle with the Demon Lord, but you don't have any gear or any goodies. Moving right along, down here we've got the track, which is the health. And then we also have this area here that's going to show us the various different skills, as well as kind of level ups as far as the stamina, as well as the focus that we can unlock. This is a very interesting aspect of the game, this section right here. I will zoom in. We will get a closer look as well. So we also have these various different characters that we don't have in play at the moment. I am presenting this as if it's a 4-player game, but I only have 1-player board set up. As you can see, this takes up some space. Now, granted, this is usually not right on top of your board here, but your actual player board is going to take up some space on the table. So you're going to need a bit of space on the table in order to play. But these are what the kind of level ups look like for the various different characters. I will once again, of course, zoom in to get a closer look at those. We've got some bonuses that we utilize for multiple players, because going first kind of, it gives you a bit of an advantage. So what you'll do is each of the players is going to possibly get one of these cards or more of these cards, maybe 2 of these cards, as well as possibly some potions. And mainly what they do is they help you move your gems further up your board. And we will get a closer look at this. I will talk about that, because that is a big portion of the game here, what's going on with that. Also, we have the Demon Lord. So we've got 2 decks of cards for the Demon Lord. So when we actually get to the finale, when we're battling the Demon Lord, we're going to actually use these cards here. Game changes a little bit when we go to fight the Demon Lord. I will mention that there has been a misconception, I think, from some people who think that this is a cooperative game. It is not. It is a competitive game, but there is no aspect where you're actually playing a little take that with your fellow players. This is a Euro game, so there are Euro mechanics to this game, which are probably going to throw some people off because this is a fantasy game. You don't normally see fantasy as the theme for many Euro games, so that might throw some people off. Plus, like I said, it's competitive, but you're not fighting other players. There's no PvP or anything like that. There's no take that to the other players as well. We also will have these plastic discs. We have red, blue, and kind of smoke color. So the red represents your stamina points, the blue represents your focus points, and the gray are hit markers, which you will use on monsters that have multiple hits of damage that they take. So we've got that there. We have some of the cards that we utilize for the other characters as well. Over off to the side here, we have different divine intervention, depending on the number of players you have, that are going to give you more dice. Because in essence, this is a little bit of like a worker placement mechanic to this. It also is a dice placement mechanic as well, because as we will see as we get closer and take a closer look, you can see that there are die faces on these monsters. Well, those are the die faces. Those are the dice you need to have in order to defeat these monsters. So it wasn't that long ago that I reviewed Roll for Adventure from Cosmos Games. Similar concept as tackling the monsters in that game, where we had to assign dice with certain die numbers on them to defeat the monsters. So very, very similar as far as that goes as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move some stuff over. So here we have the gems. We do have a bag of various different gems here, which you see on these cards. You'll get a better look at that. We got a whole bunch of dice. Loads and loads of dice. So we have gold pips and silver pips. Gold pips are what you normally will have. Silver pips are earned from special gear and things like that. And what else? We had some little tokens here, little heart tokens to mark our hits, our hit points, our health, effectively. Do want to mention that the health actually counts as your victory points at the end of the game. If you survive fighting the Demon Lord, then whoever has the most health is the winner. And there's some tiebreakers as well. But you need to protect your health as best you can, because unlike many fantasy board games, you don't have really opportunities to regain the health. It's not like, oh, well, you know, I've got a health potion. These potions here are for your stamina as well as your focus, not to regain your health. So you need to really be careful with the amount of health that you lose. Although, gotta say, if everyone else is dead fighting the Demon Lord and you defeat the Demon Lord, what you're supposed to be doing, and you still have health left, well, hey, if you have 1 point, you're still the winner. Hooray! So I'm going to move some of this stuff over because we're going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to go through pretty much the tenets of play. And this way you'll get a closer look at the character board as well. Let's see. And we should be in good shape as far as the focus. The focus. Focus. I'm going to just move some stuff around a little bit so I can reach over and grab it easier. So, effectively, what we're looking at here, I'll move this over a little bit so we can kind of squeeze more of this location board in. So each of the players will have their character board. And their character board is going to have the various different skills and kind of like level ups, power ups. This, if you're fans of a lot of like hack and slash kind of video games where you're constantly getting new gear and leveling up and boosting your abilities and that, then you're going to feel right at home. Now, that said, it's not like a computer role-playing game where you've got a lot of different feats and attributes that you're changing and things like that. Now, this is more inspired by games like, say, like Diablo would be, where you're constantly getting more gear, and it's all about, the gear and getting, higher strength and stuff like that. All right, so if we notice here, we're going to have these different areas. So we have these 3 columns, and these 3 columns are going to represent the areas and abilities that we can earn and upgrade. So what happens is when we fight monsters, these monsters are going to show an icon as well as a gem. So these are gems. These ones that are kind of square are gems. These are actually tokens that represent, as I said before, stamina and focus. For these gems, we've got red, green, and blue. So don't confuse the gems with these tokens here. They are different. Unless you unlock an ability that allows you to use a gem as one of these tokens. So our archer starts off, she's got 2 stamina, which we use to actually block damage, and 3 focus. And focus is normally used for us to try to change the die face that we've rolled. So, Hilarmo says, love Descent 2nd Edition. This looks like something I would like. I am going to kind of give you a hint before I get to my final score. We've had a lot of fun playing this. We really have. And I do have some quibbles. I will talk about that. But for the most part, we've had a good time. Anyway, so what's going to happen here is when you fight monsters and you defeat monsters, you're going to get to move gems. And your card is going to show you exactly what you're going to move. So red means you're going to move a red gem. It's also going to show you what kind of gear you can get by defeating this monster. So here we see that this is a weapon. This shows us this is the die that we need to have to defeat this monster. And then the little blood drop shows that if we have this monster and we're fighting, and we put the monsters up here in this section of the board. If we do not defeat this monster and this monster remains here after we fight, then we're going to take 1 point of damage to our health. That's what this card represents here. Then we flip it over. We see that this is a piece of equipment. It's a wooden buckler. And we see what the benefits are and how we need to activate it. I will get into all that in just a couple moments. So essentially what's going to happen here, we've got our location board. And you're going to use your miniatures to maneuver and move along the path of the board. Each player will also have a handy dandy reference card, which is actually really thin. I was a little disappointed. I thought this card stock would be a little thicker. And strangely enough, it actually does not tell you which character that this is for. You can tell by basically looking at what kind of skills they've got right here. But I am a little surprised that they didn't just tell you, okay, this is for whoever, right? This is the archer. So, but the cool thing is it tells you what can you do on your turn. What are the achievements? Remember, we got that achievement board we were looking at. And then what do each of these unlockable skills or abilities actually do? Even though it does tell you on the card, this goes into more detail, kind of like a little FAQ for you to know exactly what's going on for Force of Nature, Infinite Quiver, Rain of Arrows, Sharpshooter, Surge, and Perfect Fit. Now you'll notice, so let's get a little closer here. You'll notice in this section here, we've got the different abilities. Some are cards and some are tiles. So the level ups tend to be tiles and the abilities are on these little cards. So as we see, we've got these different gems on top. We've got some tokens down here as well. So what happens is when we move onto the board, we're going to actually draw monsters from what it tells us in the circle that our character has moved into. So if you are not on the board yet, the only thing you're going to be able to do is move, right? So we get the ability we can move, fight, or rest. Those are our choices. So if we choose to move, we get to advance, we reveal demons, we take demons, and if we move on to a treasure chest, we get some goodies. So I'll talk about when we get to that point. If we decide to fight, we have things we can do before we roll. We roll our dice, we attack with them, we block any attacks back to us, we will gain our levels and items, and then we will check for achievements. If we decide to rest, we're going to restore our stamina as well as our focus. We can equip items, we can buy potions, and we can also check for achievements. Pretty easy peasy. It was funny because when we first were taking a look at this and looking through the rule book, it was like, this might be more complex than I thought it was going to be. And then after we started playing it, it was like, no, this is absolutely not very complex at all. It's actually pretty easy to grasp once you start playing. So let's say, for an example, I move into a section where, okay, let's do this. So I move the archer into the first spot. So this means I have to draw, let's move her a little bit. I have to draw 5 pairs of the first level monsters. And I'm going to put them on the board here. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you what that looks like once I've done that. All right, so what you're going to try to do, you're going to try not to cover up the little circles that you're moving along. So as we see here, we have a couple that are going to give us footwear if we defeat them. One's green, one's red, but they both actually require a 1 to defeat. We're going to start off with 2 dice. We only have 2 dice to begin with. We will get more dice as the game progresses. Here we have a red and a green. We have the 3 and a 4, a blue and a green, 1 and a 5, 1 and a 4, 6 and a 3. So as an example, you're going to take a couple of these. You're going to take one of these pairs that are on the board here. You're going to take one of these pairs, and these are going to be the monsters that are kind of following you. They're kind of chasing after you. So what you're going to try to look for, since you only have the 2 dice, is you're going to look for numbers that are different. Like, for an example, the 1 and the 1, that's kind of a pain. You're going to have to roll 2 1s. Just have an opportunity. Well, got to make sure you roll a 1 at least. And you're probably going to take some damage. So you're going to look here at your character, at what you want to kind of level up, what you want to move up. So as an example, let's say I decide I'm going to take, just for the sake of argument, I'm going to take these 2. I'm going to take these 2 monsters here. So these 2 monsters are now chasing. They go up there. They're going to go up there. And I am now on the board. So I have revealed demons, and then I took demons. And then, that's it. Now, I talked about the treasure chest. Each of the boards have like an area, well, not each of them, but most of them have an area with a treasure chest at the end. If you're the first player to move their figure into that location, what happens is we've escaped from the monsters. So you don't have to defeat every monster on the board. So what'll happen is we'll flip over all of the monsters, and then everybody's going to get to take a free piece of gear from the board. And of course, the person who landed on the treasure chest is going to get first pick, and then it'll just go around the table from them. So let's flip this back to the monster. So that would be my turn. Now the next turn, let's say we've got somebody who's playing the dancer, right? So let's bring me back here. So the dancer comes into play. They take their turn because they're not on the board yet. The only thing they can do is move. And this tells them that they have to reveal a pair of monsters. So we would do that once again. So we would have green and green. Yuck, another one that's just double deuces. So then they would have their opportunity. Now what they're going to do is they're going to select a pair of these monsters that are on the board. Now, once they would come back around, let's say we get other players who they come on board and they're getting more monsters and more of these cards are coming off. So it comes back to me. It's my turn again. So what'll happen is when you move, if you decide you're going to move, you always move to the next spot up front. So you're always the first in line when you move. If you're already the first in line, you're just going to move to the next spot. But if you're, say, back here, because everybody else in the 4-player game is now on the journey to defeat the Demon Lord, I move to here, just like so. And you're going to continue until somebody hits the treasure, and then you're going to move on to the next board. And one thing that I thought was really cool is I like the artwork on these boards. I thought they're actually really nicely done. So it's funny because I've been talking on the show that I've been playing the Divinity Original Sin 2. It's kind of funny because this has that same kind of like isometric top-down view of the countryside and that. And I really do like the artwork on these boards. I think it's really well done. Funny thing is, the rest of the artwork in the game, I feel to be kind of meh. Just, it doesn't really stand out. It's just sort of, okay. All right. So here, this is like board 3. If you were playing a 3-player game, you would not use this board. So as we go, continuing along like that. This is where we fight the Big Baddie on board 6. This is the Demon Lord board. So, but like I said, I think the artwork on the location boards is pretty cool. I really like it. But as you can see, the artwork for the monsters and even the artwork for the Demon Lord, I mean, what is this? The Balrog? He looks like the Balrog from Lord of the Rings, from Fellowship of the Ring. It's like, what are we fighting, the Balrog here? What's going on? So, Robert Schneggenberger has arrived in chat. Good to see you, Robert. Thanks for popping in to check out Sanctum with me. All right, let's zoom back out a little bit so I can kind of show you how this is going to kind of play out. So we're going to be fighting the monsters here. All right, so let's move this up. And I'm going to grab me a couple of dice. So remember, one thing we can do is we can fight. So that's another option for our turn. We can decide to fight. I don't like, when I was playing, I don't like to have too many of these monsters up here. I try to get rid of them. So first thing you're going to do before you start the fight, before you roll your dice, if you have any potions, you can use your potions. Because what's going to happen is you spend your focus and your stamina as the game goes on. You can use a potion, and you can carry 4 potions. You can use a potion to reset one of your tokens. So for an example, that would, if I use that, that allows me to reset a focus token. If I use this, that'll allow me to reset the stamina. So I don't have any potions right now, so I'm going to roll my dice. So I get a 1 and a 5. Wow, that is not good. So we don't have a 1 or a 5 here. But as you can see, we have these like abilities here, right? So we do start off with some capabilities before we start unlocking this stuff over here. As I bump that, knock that over. That is one thing I do have to point out. Got to be careful when you're playing this, especially when you're starting off the game, because you got all these gems and tokens on these tiles and cards. And it's very easy for somebody to bump stuff and knock things around. All right, so looks pretty crappy here, right? All right, so I got a 1 and I got a 5. That isn't going to help me. But what I can do here is I can spend a focus. I can put it over here. And as you can see, it says plus or minus 1. So I can add 1 or subtract 1 from a die. So I am going to add 1 to this die. That's going to give me a 6. That's going to match there. Boom! I was able to defeat that monster. I also have a 1 here. I also have this other ability here. I can get plus or minus 2. So I will do plus or minus 2. So I'm going to add 2. Gives me a 3. Boom. Took that out. So I was able to defeat both of those monsters, luckily. But remember, now that I've used this, I have to rest or use a potion to be able to reset any of these. That is one of the interesting aspects of the game, because you'll move, you'll fight, and then you'll have to rest. You'll have periods where you're going to have to rest your character. So we see here, this is purple. This essentially means it can be red or blue. It can be either or. So let's say, as an example, I rolled terribly. I had no opportunity to be able to defeat these monsters, and they were able to attack me. So I would be taking 2 hits. So if I just left it like that, I would lose 20% of my health right here on my first turn. That would be bad news. I wouldn't want to do that. So what I can do here is we also see these red circles. We also see this purple circle here. So what I can choose to do is I could choose to spend a red here. That will block 2 hits. So I would not take any damage from these monsters, but these monsters would still be harassing me. They would still be on my tail. So thankfully, I will spend these 2 focus tokens and eliminate the 2 monsters. So the first thing we get to see here is that we get to level up 2 red gems. So leveling your gems, moving your gems, is simply moving them up. So as an example here, I can move these 2 up to here to perfect fit, and I could get the infinite quiver. So that I could possibly do if I wanted to. Or I could move 2 up, and these actually go into my gem storage, which is important for you to have because this is how you activate items. And I can gain 1 more stamina, which is what I am going to do. I'm going to gain the additional stamina. So what happens here now is I've got these 2 monsters I've defeated. This is the gear that I've got. So I have a wooden buckler, and I also have bear hide boots. So it also shows the colored gems that I would need in order to activate this equipment. So what my bear hide boots do is it gives me the ability to spend 1 stamina to block 2 hits. This allows me to spend either a focus for plus or minus 1, or spend 1 to block a hit. So what'll happen here is the equipment I've got is going to go up here. So any equipment that I have not equipped is going to stay up here. Now, it is possible for you to get to equipment that, you get 3 helmets. Well, you're not going to be able to wear 3 pieces of armor on your head. You only got 1 head. So what you could do is, during your rest phase, you can actually trade in equipment on a one-to-one basis and choose potions to get potions. So that is something that you have available to you as well. Now, everybody has one of these tokens here. This is kind of their frenzy token. So what the frenzy token allows you to do is, in a fight, you can spend this, you can flip it over. You can spend this and you can change a die to any face you want. So it's a one shot that the only time you get to reload this is if you roll dice and you weren't able to match if you have anything left over. So if I rolled 2 dice and I was able to defeat 1 monster, but I still had a leftover die, that allows me to reset this to use on a future turn. So there we have the fighting. One thing that's kind of interesting too is that as you move these gems, because what you'll look to do is you're going to look to fight monsters that are going to move gems up on stuff you want to do. You will probably never unlock everything on your board. But, so for an example, if I had gone and decided to move the 2 red to get the infinite quiver, which is cool, I would have had to have moved it to this card here. So that now means, in order for me to get perfect fit, I would have to move 5 red and 2 of any color to get perfect fit. So that's why I went with the lower of the 2. I went with the kind of the boost. You will notice it makes it easier for you to understand what goes where on these boards, because each of the character types will have a little icon here, and then it'll say 1, 2, or 3. So it goes 1, 2, 3. And it's not always laid out the same kind of way for the different characters. The characters can be differently spaced out. So maybe this tile isn't here for the dancer. It might be in the middle. So, or it might be down at the bottom. It all depends. So you have 1, 2, 3 spaced out on there. So this is your kind of like your gem. I forget the word that they use exactly. It's kind of like your gem vault, let's say. So one of the other things you can do, remember, we've talked about moving, we've talked about fighting, now we're going to talk about resting. So if you decide on your turn you're going to rest, then what happens is you get to reset. You get to reset your stamina as well as your focus. You can equip items. So as an example here, I've got these 2 red gems. I can equip the wooden shield, which is going to go into a spot that has the sword, that shows the sword, so just like so. And I will equip it with the red gem. I can do the same thing with the bear hide boots. So now I bring the bear hide boots down here. I equip it with the red gem. And I now have these both equipped. Now you notice here I've got a kind of wild card gem and a die sitting in my gem vault. What happens is the first time you equip a piece of equipment, you're going to get a new die. So I now have 3 dice. And I also have a wild gem that I can use to spend. So there's going to be different things that you're going to be able to spend gems on, not always just equipment. So as an example, let's say I went and later on I'm able to defeat some more monsters and I move 2 more red up. Now I get the infinite quiver. So what I'll do is I'll flip the infinite quiver over, and this is the area that we put some of the special equipment. So the infinite quiver goes right up top, and it says, before I roll, so before I have a fight, I can regenerate 1 focus on a blue ability space. So if I had something on a ability space, I could get that blue token back to this as well. So that's the equipping items. The buying potions, like I said before, if you've got equipment that, you know, maybe you've got 3 pairs of boots, you're not gonna be able to utilize 3 pairs of boots, you can sell off that equipment and you can get the potions. So for an example, got a couple of potions here, pop them on in there. And when I go and have a fight, I can reset if I spend these before I roll the dice. So as we maneuver around and we go onto other boards, we start fighting more difficult monsters. So these require 2 dice to defeat. They also provide more damage if we fight, they're still on your board. And you get better gear. So you get better gear on here, but the gear becomes more expensive as well for you to unlock. So it's not surprising that you might get into the final battle with the Demon Lord and not have equipment on every single space and have everything all out here. It can happen. You will probably be in pretty good shape if you have been playing well enough and not just moving along and actually being able to fight monsters. So as I mentioned before, if you get hits, so let's say I've got these 2, I'm battling, right? So I get 3 and a 6 and a 1. So I could go, okay, well, here's the 1. I don't have a 3 or a 6, but remember I've got my plus minus here that I could use. So let's say I end up being able to do this with my 3 dice. So I'm able to put 2 hits on this monster, get rid of that monster, I'll score that gear. But this monster would still have only 1 hit. That's when we use these little smoke-colored tokens, and then we just cover up the die that we knocked off. But they're still there. They're still here. Once again, because I wasn't able to defeat them, I would have to take the 2 points of damage. The really cool, interesting thing about this game is the drawing the monsters that are going to best and fight the monsters and defeat the monsters that are going to best allow you to unlock the different skills and abilities that you want to be able to use. So, as an example, let's say I had the opportunity to move up 2 blue. So I'd move up 2 blue, I move them to there, still leaves me with 1 blue. But now it makes Surge much harder to get. So you have to kind of take a look at the different skills, the different abilities, and kind of figure, okay, so what do I really want here? And what can I kind of leave to maybe get later on? I also do want to point out, the only time you get to fill your little gem vault up here is when you move something from level 1 into, when you move from level 1 to go here. Moving it from, say, like level 3 to level 2 does not open up gems in your little gem area here, which you want to have gems because as you get equipment, you're going to want to equip that stuff. So you'll continue moving, fighting, and resting until you reach the big bad Demon Lord. And this is where, oops, there we go. Yeah, I like it. I think this is cool, but to me, I felt a little bit like a letdown, and I'll explain why. But first off, I should point out that as you're unlocking your abilities, as you're gaining gems, as you're getting equipment, you'll be able to unlock these achievements, which are these just little tokens you're probably going to want to hang on to for the end battle. I'll kind of flip these over. It's just all random. You place them here. So for an example, first person to unlock 3 levels of abilities is going to get this token here. First person who unlocks 5 gets this one. First person who unlocks 7 gets this one. First person to get 2 of the colors, so say 2 red, 2 blue, would get this one. 3 of 2 colors, it's that. 4 of 2 colors would get this. And then who unlocks the most points, or I should say, the number of points in equipment. So for an example, these are 1s, right? So this is 2 points. That would not unlock any achievement. But 4 points, 7 points, 10 points. As you can see, it's just effectively, you can add 2 to a die, you can block a hit. See, -2, +2. So it's not anything crazy, but it is just some additional help that you can utilize as well. And of course, you will add some dice as you play. You should be hitting the Demon Lord with 5 dice available to you with the gold. It is possible you'll have equipment or have some skills that you've unlocked that will give you silver pip dice, which are still just 6-sided dice. It's just they're color coordinated so that silver means it's not your basic dice pool. So what'll happen is you're going to fight the Demon Lord, and what's going to happen is you're going to utilize the 2 decks of cards. So you're going to have these cards here that show hits to the Demon Lord. And then you also have cards here that show, what does the Demon Lord do to you, right? So you're going to have a mixture of these cards, and then you are going to proceed to do your best to defeat the Demon Lord before you run out of health. It is not as easy as you may think, because you actually have like multiple cards like this that you're going to have to defeat. So it's sort of like, okay, so you're gonna have multiple cards you're gonna have to defeat, like so. And you're gonna also have multiple cards of things that he will do against you. So by rolling dice. So yeah, it can be kind of tough. But as I mentioned, it's a victory if the Demon Lord's defeated. So you can kind of look at it as, even if 3 of your 4 characters, if you're playing a 4-player game, 3 or 4 characters get killed by the Demon Lord, but the 4th one defeats the Demon Lord, everybody can kind of look at that. Yay, that was a victory. That was cool. We won. It's just, it's competitive because whoever's got the most health points left is declared the winner. There's some tiebreakers too, but they're kind of like the greatest hero. But the way we kind of looked at it is that even though it's not competitive, or I should say not cooperative, we kind of sat there and we're like, well, as long as the Demon Lord got defeated, it's a win for everybody. So Kabuki Kid says, I swear that I have 3d6 that look just like that, but they're loaded to always roll 6s. Gag dice for rolling characters, they're weighted, so it's crazy obvious. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm gonna roll up, yeah. So we're gonna do like 3 out of 4? Yeah, okay. All right. So the aspect of battling the Big Baddie at the end, I mean, it's fine. I mean, Cameron really thought it was cool. I thought it was a little bit of a letdown. I have more fun fighting the other monsters, getting the gear, leveling up, getting different stuff as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that aspect of the game quite a lot. In fact, it's very unique. And there is kind of a puzzle aspect to the game. Amazingly enough, people may not realize there is kind of a puzzle aspect, especially the way you unlock your different abilities and level ups. So all in all, that is how you play Sanctum from Czech Games Edition. So, what are my final thoughts? And what is my review score? All right, so as I pointed out, as I was kind of showing you how to play, I've had a lot of fun with this game. Yeah, okay, so the Big Baddie battle at the end, which should be like the climax, I felt was a little weak. I was the only one playing it who thought that it was kind of weak. Okay, it's just me, right? So that's a little critique. Also, the like I said, the artwork's kind of meh. The backstory to it's like, you know, the theme. I mean, there is theme here, and the theme does come through pretty well. It's, you know, leveling up, fighting monsters, getting gear, getting better, going and defeating the Demon Lord. That comes through. The kind of story behind it is kind of weak. I mean, honestly, if they had a little more oomph to the artwork, especially because a lot of the artwork is just the same thing over and over again. Like, you know, level 1, skeleton. Level 1, little demon guy. It's all, you know, it's not a lot of variations in the artwork, I should say. So that's a little bit of a knock. Component quality is really nice. Although I do want to say that the little player aids, it would have been nice just to have them a little thicker cardstock. But I love the fact that we've got the player aids that show you, okay, this is exactly what you can do. You're going to move, you're going to fight, or you're going to rest. Take your pick. Okay, you're going to move, well, you're going to do this, 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 this. It's all laid right out there for you. I also like the fact that for your abilities here, there's a little bit of an FAQ as far as what they do, as opposed to just reading it off the little tiny text on the card. So I appreciate that as well. Really, really like that. All in all, like I said, I really like the fact where you're getting different gear and you're swapping gear out and you're trying to, okay, so which gear should I use here? Then you have to decide, okay, so we've been fighting. I've used up all my focus. I've used up all my stamina. I have to rest. So I have to take a turn that I'm really not doing anything. I like the fact that every turn you're not necessarily fighting monsters. You fight monsters if you want to fight monsters. And you can't continually move and have all of these monsters sitting there, because when you finally fight, you're going to get massacred. So I like the fact that you're not constantly battling. I do like the fact that you get to choose what monsters you're going to fight, because that allows you to have the ability to kind of tailor, if you defeat those monsters, how you're going to level your character up. So a lot of uniqueness to this game. Granted, we're seeing mechanics we've seen before, but the way they're put together is pretty interesting. Especially, I like how when you're moving those gems to unlock level ups and abilities, moving one thing, if it's not a level 1, is going to make getting something else much more difficult to get. So I like that too. You have to kind of balance, how am I going to go about doing this? Because if you get the level 1s, they're pretty easy, but they're not super powerful. The level 3 is the good stuff, but the level 2 stuff is good too. So I like the balance you have to do. So all in all, I really do like Sanctum. I think Sanctum's a very, very cool game. I would actually push this into the 9s if it weren't for the kind of bland artwork and the fact that I feel the big boss battle isn't as entertaining as the rest of the game. But I do want to point out, the big boss battle doesn't take all that long. So it's not like it's half the game is getting to the boss and then the other half is the big boss. It's, well, you figure it's 6 boards you're going to traverse. So I would say maybe 10, 15% of the game, I'd say maybe 10% of the game is the big boss fight. Another aspect I like about the game too is that you can kind of play a little simultaneously. You don't have to sit there and wait for everybody to completely finish their turn. So once somebody's done with their fight, rolling the dice and assigning stuff, move on to the next player while they figure out what kind of gear they've got and stuff like that. Also, like if somebody's resting, you don't have to sit there and watch them doing their resets and stuff like that. So the game does move along pretty quickly. 4 players, once you do understand how to play the game. I know the time is 60 to 120 minutes. We played this 5 times. Now, we only played it with 4 players twice. But Neither time did it go 2 hours. It was maybe about an hour and a half. So I think the 2 hours, once you get a hang of the game, and at least one person really understands how to play, you can knock it out in about 90 minutes. Maybe even faster than that if you have people kind of doing simultaneous. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give Sanctum a very, very solid 8.6 out of 10. I would certainly recommend it to players out there who enjoy fantasy games. Most certainly would as I hold the box up upside down. I'm so used to having the titles up on top, not on the bottom. So, good stuff. And I gotta say, you can pick it up online. It's got an MSRP of $59.99. I have seen it for about 50-ish. And that's a pretty good deal for what you get and for all the gameplay. Oh, one other thing I want to throw out there. I mentioned this as I started the review, but you may have forgotten. Each of the characters is unique. So I do really like the fact that each of the characters does play a bit differently. It's not asynchronous at all, but you have to kind of take different approaches to playing depending on which character that you've got. So that's kind of cool too. Plus, add some nice replayability when you say, yeah, you know, I'm tired playing the big muscle fighter guy. Let me play the dancer. So, all right, so that's it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, let me reach on down and grab it. On tomorrow's show, I will share a how to play and review Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea from GMT Games. All right, so definitely have to say, if you were watching live, appreciate you hanging out while I kind of pontificate about Sanctum, kind of bounce around a little bit. But if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe, be sure to click on that little bell because it will notify you when new episodes of standalone videos get uploaded, as well as tell you when the Daily Dope goes live. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. You know the drill. Get your geek on at gaminggang.com. Those of you who were watching live in chat, Kabuki Kid, we had Robert, we had Hilarmo hanging out. Thank you so much for keeping me company so I don't feel like a complete dope just blabbing on into the camera there. But then again, if you watch after the fact, even if you're watching on Memorex, I certainly appreciate you taking time to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. So everyone enjoy your Tuesday night. I will be back tomorrow for War Game Wednesday. And of course, until then, happy trails. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.